Hi everyone. Just a quick check. Anybody here who's a CISO or from the CISO's office? I'm going to try and make this as generic and understandable for non-CISOs as I can. So I'm going to be talking about a topic of AI is there everywhere these days. So I'm going to be talking about how AI, I expect, will be changing the world of GRC. For the folks who don't know, GRC is what it's a acronym for Governance, Risk and Compliance, right? It's a couple of decades old, but recently going through a massive shift. I'm going to be talking about what is really changing in this space and how AI is going to be impacting this space and what we are building towards. I'll do like a quick demo of 2 or 3 things that we're building, but show a picture of what can happen in this space. So for the folks who are not from GRC or from CISO, you could probably take away how some of the things that I'm showing could also affect other areas, and how the similar lessons I believe will work in other domains as well. Right, so I'm an entrepreneur, second-time entrepreneur, built and sold a company before. I've been building companies for 15 plus years now. I've seen multiple AI waves, by the way. This is the second time we're seeing like a lot of energy and enthusiasm around AI. The last one happened somewhere between 2010 and 2015, right? But this one viscerally seems very different, right? I think basically this is a wave that is real. It's going to change the way we all work, and it's important for every one of us to understand how is it going to be changing each of our own functions. And obviously, as a software developer, I also have to understand how it's going to change our space as well. So this is my take on how our space is going to change, right? So I have 10 minutes allocated. I would have liked to talk about how it will change the entire space of a CISO or security in general, but I think I'm going to restrict myself to GRC for today. So before we do that, I think it's important for us to first get a sense that GRC as we talk today is not the same what we used to talk about it 10 years ago, right? Over the last decade, there's a lot of digital transformation that happened, which means basically companies moved a lot of their manual paper processes onto the cloud. So there's a running joke about 5-6 years ago, where if you said digital transformation thrice, somebody from Accenture would appear in front of you magically, right? Like that's the size of this industry, and like a lot of companies just completely transformed internally how they work, right? Now what this meant is a large part of the data within companies, right, has moved onto the cloud, right? This opened up a lot of attack vectors. People started attacking the vendors instead of directly attacking companies, and consequently getting access to data, right? Now obviously regulators and governance bodies were not sitting around. We know for anybody selling into enterprises or mid-market, you'd know that SOC 2 and ISO and GDPR and HIPAA and a bunch of these started becoming a lot more popular of late. And this is largely because regulators started enforcing what is called as third-party risk management. They're saying basically that, look, if you are saying that you're going to keep my data safe and secure, or if you're saying that you're keeping data safe and secure, and you're transferring it to your vendors, you got to take responsibility for the data that you're transferring, right? So that's what really prompted the growth of this industry and a large amount of compliance, etc., right? So overall, this has changed the world entirely for GRC teams as well as vendors alike, right? However, in the last decade or so, the GRC teams haven't really grown in size, right? There is a large amount of data proliferating, the digital data proliferating, because of lots of use of vendors. We all know this. This is called the SaaS sprawl, right? And in a modern work environment, the amount of data is just spreading across to so many people, and the access is also spreading across to too many people, right? And on one side, the regulation is growing as well. So eventually what is really happening from a GRC standpoint, in GRC there is a common term called controls, which is essentially a way of saying that, look, what is the security that I'm running in my company, list of security procedures that I'm running to ensure that the data is safe and secure, right? So the granularity of this control application has completely gone off the roof. Earlier, it used to be like at a global level. Now you got to run it at like an every asset, every process level that needs monitoring on a continuous basis, right? But the GRC teams obviously aren't getting bigger, and the GRC tooling is not really designed for any of this, right? Most of the GRC software that you will see in the world has been built before 2015, before the digital transformation happened, right? So the question to really ask is, okay, how is this now going to change GRC overall, right? This is a space that will eventually move to autonomous. Today it's like driving a manual car. You're doing every gear change, every time at a traffic signal, you're just changing the gears, applying the brakes and watching around and then moving. Over time, this needs to move into autonomous because of the level of signal that is coming our way. It is just going to be impossible for any individual to be managing all of the signals in order to run a great GRC program and ensure that the vulnerabilities in a company are managed, right? So this is it's much like how the transition in driving and transportation is happening. The cars were originally manual, then it became automated, then it basically is moving to autonomous today, right? So based on our conversations with a lot of industry veterans and basically what we are building and the information that is coming our way, we are realizing there are 4 characteristics to this. Number one, it's going to be real time, right? The way GRC used to work before is, if somebody asks you what is your compliance posture today, it takes you approximately 15 days to 3 weeks. In order to answer that question, you'll go running around asking for evidence collection, and then you'll evaluate the evidence and then finally, be able to answer that question, right? But with a lot of systems having APIs and the agents being able to go and collect information from various systems, we should be able to do this in a lot more real-time manner now. You wake up, you're going to say, what is my security posture in connection to SOC 2 is, you should be able to answer that within like the next 30 seconds, right? Second, it's going to become hyper-contextual. With the amount of regulation that's coming up, which is specific to my industry, specific to my geography, specific to the specific asset on top of which I am basically trying to apply the regulation. For example, you can't say the security controls for a CEO's laptop is the same as that of everybody else, like an intern's laptop, right? So your controls have to be specific to the asset that you're monitoring, and it needs to be contextual. And this thing was humanly impossible before, and today it is going to be possible because of AI's ability to understand the context in which you are applying a particular control or a security measure, right? Self-healing. Agents can help you actually stay in sync between, let's say, your risks and security posture without having to have like people look through all of these things and create that understanding. Right, the natural language understanding of agents is pretty good, and we are able to understand all of this, right? And eventually, I think it will also become embedded, which essentially means that today GRC teams are central. They are like the other team which goes and works with the teams where the actual security risks are, which is dev teams and marketing teams and sales teams and so on. But imagine a world in which you are able to embed your security posture and your security processes right in people's, when their work is happening. For example, if they are, let's say, changing code, and within the code change, you are able to basically say that, look, this needs a peer review with 2 people reviewing this thing, and you have only done once, right? So things like that will become possible. Or even if you're spinning up a new AWS server, can you tell me that the configuration of the AWS server is not matching the posture that I need to have for the company that we've decided, right? So all these kind of things are going to be possible. Eventually, I think in GRC, autonomous and AI first is going to be the future, and that's what we are building. So anybody interested, please come and meet us at the booth that we have on the ground floor. I'll do one quick demo. Okay. Imagine I'm using Figma. I want to basically understand if Figma is following the right kind of security practices, which I have promised to my customers that any vendor, any data that I share with a vendor, I want to ensure that they are following the right kind of security practices, right? So I'm going to say, okay, I got SOC 2 report from Figma. I want to use Sprinto AI to basically figure out what are all the security practices they're using, and I have a set of questions that I've already set up that I want to check every vendor against a bunch of security practices, right? So I'll not run it exactly here, like I could just click on generate findings and it will start the process. I'm going to quickly show you how it will work in a different vendor. The process that I've initiated there is completed, and now we are able to say, okay, across access management and business continuity and disaster recovery, I'm able to answer specific questions, right? So this is like, this is a process that used to take 1 to 2 days for people running vendor security. Now it's less than 5 minutes, right? Maybe I'll show you one other example. Let's imagine I need to have a login protection mechanism for Azure. Okay. Okay, this is a passing check. Let me just find something that's not working. Okay, this is Zoho Analytics. Let's say, for example, I need the right kind of login protection mechanism for Zoho Analytics, right? I'm going to upload evidence here or a screenshot. Yeah, I've uploaded that of Zoho, and I'm going to say analyze. So it quickly looks through the evidence. It's going to evaluate for relevance. It will understand what is the scope of the test I'm trying to do. And it tells me, look, you want to do a test for Zoho Analytics, but what you've uploaded the screenshot of is of Zoho directory, which are not the same product, right? So it is able to tell at that granular level whether things are working or not, right? This is something that could generally be error prone with sometimes manual effort. And the bigger problem is you find these issues when you go to the audit, and the auditor basically then says that, look, you haven't basically kept the right kind of evidence, and it will come up as an issue during the audits, right? So there are a bunch more that we're building. We're actually, these are simple examples, but we are actually building a playground where you can build AI agents yourself. So you needn't be limited to what we are building. So we're quite excited about what we're building here, and we're co-building with a few CISOs here. So if any of you is a CISO, please come talk to us. Thank you.